but you guys hopped on this call to get some type of information, to get some type of value, to learn something new. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Just joined in. If you're new to the calls, like I said, this is going to be a treat for you guys to be able to learn information and be able to actually gain more perspective about life and ultimately increase your knowledge. Knowledge is the foundation to live in a righteous path. So the more knowledge you can obtain, the more ways you can actually go about life with new perspectives to accomplish the things that you want to do. So, on today's call, definitely going to be introducing two wonderful female individuals that have been able to impact communities on their own and have been able to actually collab today to impact you guys today for the community. So, if you guys are excited for that, drop a 777 in the chat just so I know that we all on the same page, just so I know that we got the right people on the call today. I always like to make sure the frequency's right in the room because we got to make sure that we talking to the right individuals. I like to talk to people who's actually operating on a high frequency or they're looking to operate on a high frequency. That's what we're inviting on today's call. Now, with that being said, let's get straight into everything. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce today's speakers. Number one, we got an individual that, like I said from prior calls, she's been able to actually. I've seen her grow. You know what I'm saying? From knowing her in high school, and just seeing her go from her high school her to who she is today. I've seen her grow, and it's always good to see people that elevating in life. Whatever it is that they're doing, it's always good to see someone that's elevating their life. So first things first, drop some threes in the chat for Nicolette, and secondly, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce Lex, who has been able to join the community as of recently, who has been able to really be an influence inside of the community with different things, with her dancing, the music, her creativity, her hair, her hair business, like the different things that she's doing is very creative. So she's expressing love in different aspects in her way that is able to be portrayed the way she wants it to be portrayed. And that's a key thing that I get from her is that love is something that you can express in many different ways and factors. So make sure you guys go ahead and spam up the threes in the chat for Lex as well. And I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all go ahead and take over the call from here. Hold on, y'all can't unmute. My fault. My fault.
Nah, I just unmuted myself.
Okay.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing? I hope y'all been doing good. So for today's message, I'm gonna start out this call and then I'm gonna lead it to Nicolette afterwards. This is basically a channel message that I've been getting all week, okay? So before I get into the message, I just wanna ask, there's been an energetic shift that happened this week, and I wanna know, has anyone else felt it? Or has anyone else peeped it? And if you have, put it in the chat. And as far as astrological, as far as the planets go, I can't get too much into that because I don't know too much. However, I know there's a lot astrally going on. Like Mercury's about to be in retrograde. There's a solar eclipse tomorrow. So that is just big energy right there. So with that being said, there has been a lot of shifts taking place. It's giving the energy of new timeline, portal jumping, okay? And it's funny because CJ said drop a 777 in the chat. 777 this week is definitely a message in itself. I've been seeing 777 like crazy. I know of another person that been seeing 777 or just 7 is relevant. So 7 is relevant. You also could have been seeing 444. Now that one, take as it been resonant, take that one as it resonates. That one, but yeah, take that one as it resonates. But I've also been seeing 444. The number 4 is crazy. That deals with, or I have found it to mean heavy on 444. Okay, bad. I found it to mean anything in regards to your foundation, your stability. Kind of think like a box, how a box has 4 sides, or even the foundation to a house. If you have I guess a rectangle house or a square house, but it's still that 4 sides. You know what I'm saying? All right, so boom. The message for this week is to be present. I hope you guys have been present and to continue being present, okay? And the reason why I say this is because we as humans can get like so used to our old way of thinking, old way of programming, to the point where it's like we just do things and then it's like it's literally by second nature, and then we just start to like do, but based off of old programming. You know what I'm saying? However, with the major shift that's occurring, there's a lot of changes happening around us. Not even that, there could be changes happening within yourself as well, right? And I say be present. um so what I wrote down was not allowing old toxic thought patterns slash behaviors to carry on into this new timeline, which is why being present is so crucial. Because if you're not present, you could be so easily either, let's say if you're like anxious all the time, that means you're in the future. If you're living in the past, that means you're depressed. And the present moment, that's where like you want to be. But let's say you're not in the present moment, you can like literally just based off of reacting, kind of like reacting instead of responding. It's like we want to respond, we don't want to react. Wait, yeah. I said that right. I said that right. And being present can really, really help with this. Okay. Again, especially around this time. Okay, so boom. Another thing that also could be like relevant, I should say, because this is another thing I've been noticing upon a collective scale, like with this energy going on, with this new shift in energy. I don't know if it's been windy where you guys were at, or if you notice wind picking up. That literally gives that energy. Every single time I get like mad wind. Exactly, right. I know I'm onto something. Anyways, um, I noticed that whenever there's a lot of wind anywhere, it's wind is spirit. Exactly, literally, wind is literally spirit trying to get you to notice something. Or honestly, let's say if you're actively pushing through a barrier, a lot of wind might hit you at that moment, and that's where that new timeline energy comes in, like with all the changes that's going on around us right now. So being present is very, very crucial, because we want to like pay attention to all the signs that universe is trying to give us, right? I remember I was walking, I get mad wind, and I'm literally, as soon as the wind is coming, I start getting all these like self-limiting beliefs. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, we gonna push right through this. I push right through it, and I see 777. I was like, okay, I literally just broke through something, like a mental whole barrier, kind of like a glass ceiling. Even with glass, now this one went out of nowhere. I'm screaming. No, that is so funny. Um, Another thing that could be significant also is anything that happens, like, but like something that just catches you completely off guard. Like you did not expect this thing to happen, but yet it happens. I feel like that's another like synchronicity of this big energy like shift that's going on at this time as well. I just thought energy portal, and it's so funny because I believe we started the call at 8:08, and 8:08 I see as like an energy portal. So that kind of gives the energy of like of new timeline, portal jumping, right? Which is literally, I guess, going into a new way of being, kind of. So let's say your old way of being may not like resonate with where you're trying to go with anymore. So it's a new way of being. That's that portal jumping. That's why you're seeing all the changes happen around you. And it also is happening on a universal scale, like astrological scale. You know what I'm saying? Um, this one, take this one as it resonates, like car accidents. I don't know if car accidents is like a synchronicity for anybody. That could just, I don't think it's just me. I know it's my area for sure, because I literally had like two crazy car accidents happen on the same day on Sunday on my block. And that's just something that's so out of the blue that like doesn't really happen. And it was literally one and then another one. It was like, what? But car accidents within itself, it's also a sign of like redirection. So I don't know if anyone else has experienced car accidents, but it's just also that energy of change, redirection with the car accidents. Take that one as it resonates though. But yeah, it doesn't even have to be that. Let's say if glass breaks out of nowhere, I don't know if that's happened to you guys recently or at all, but like you're literally just chilling, doing you, and then I don't know where a glass just breaks. It's not like you actively took it and you actively like broke it intentionally. It just broke. Like that's also a sign of an energetic clearing, right? So being present at this time, because I'm noticing all these shifts, all of these shifts. So being present at this time can really, really help you. Well, Nicolette is literally about to get into this ego and intuition, which and like discernment, all of that. Like present will literally help you to decipher what is your ego, what's your intuition, you know what I'm saying, so that you can actively break through these barriers, especially at this time, because we have a solar eclipse tomorrow. Mercury about to be in retrograde again. Can't really tell you what that means, at least not yet. You know what I'm saying? But I just know it messes with the energy around us. Okay, so it's like it's not just you; it's a collective scale. Being present, I put helps you to catch opportunities where need be, or even situations that like you don't need to be in. You know, so let's say you being present, you're somewhere, then I don't know where, maybe you get an anxious feeling and an anxious thought, and then chaos starts to pick up. It's like you being present, you'll start noticing these things, and you're like, okay, I either don't need to be here or I do need to be here. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then I also but put being present will help you focus on the things that you know will elevate you and your foundations. And that's where the 444 comes in. So that, you know, let's say if you daydream a lot. Now I know I deal with this. I don't know if you guys deal with this though, but let's say if you like daydream a lot to the point where it's like unproductive, it's like being present will really help you. Oh wait, getting grounded also is a message. Also getting grounded. So being present, getting grounded, really helping you stay in this 3D reality to help you be present. Because let's say if like I feel like especially on like our spiritual journeys sometimes like we can get really like I guess wrapped up in not the reality around us, if that makes sense. um which is like what some people call psychosis, because it's like you're not in touch with reality, and when you're not in touch with reality, that means you're not grounded, you're not being present. But you need to be in touch with reality, because at the end of the day we are still living a human experience, and we do still have like a role to fulfill here. So like being present will literally like save a lot of, I don't want to say save a lot, like I don't want to say that, just like it will help literally with any and everything, like noticing your feelings, noticing your emotions, so that you can literally navigate this world. I was about to say this earthly plane. I feel like that sounds so like that sounds so witchy. I feel like I don't know, but maybe not. Hey, maybe not. But yeah. So that was my main message. I've also put note any synchronicities on a major scale level, collective level. Okay, yeah. So that really also comes with what numbers have you been seeing recently? Take heed to that. Okay, like I said, 777. I excuse me. Excuse me. So I have found the number 777. If you've been seeing 777, 717, okay. So sevens I associate kind of, I guess, luck. Like, I don't want to say luck, but I guess I do mean luck is just things going in your way, things going in a favorable way. 717, honestly, I'm not gonna sit here and say I know exactly what it is. I don't want to tell you something that's just not true. However, a sevens, again, I associate with things going your way, I guess luck. And then ones I associate with like new beginnings. So 717, that could be maybe a little bit portal energy, but well, yeah, I can't tell you 717, but whatever you intuitively like mean it, like find it to mean, like when you see a number, what are you thinking of in that moment? That also comes to being present also. Like let's say if you see a constantly recurring number, as soon as you saw that number, what were you thinking in that moment? Write it down, take note. Um yeah. So for me, this message was literally being present. And yeah, I'm gonna pass it to Nicolette now, because I know she definitely has a lot of things to get into that is very, very beneficial. So yeah.
Hey guys. So actually I wanted to build upon the angel numbers that you were talking about because personally I studied the 5% of mathematics. So how I break it down is to me, 7 plus 7 plus 7 is 21. And also 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. They both equal 3 if you simplify it, 1 plus 2. So if you want to talk about what 3 means in the mathematics, it means understanding. So when you are seeing these numbers, you're having the understanding of what's going on around you. That's how I would correlate it. Because understanding is the picture that one puts together in their mind from the knowledge that they have and the understanding that they have, also to see with the third eye. So that understanding is allowing you to have that clarity of mind. So that's how I would correlate the angels numbers as well to what you were saying, because the energy that you were picking up on is basically the same thing if you like break it down. It's more simple. But for 717, again, with the 5% mathematic perspective, 7 means to understand your power. So that's the same thing as luck, essentially, because it's not really luck, it's just understanding your magnetism. So 1 is knowledge. So if you see that pattern, you can do this where you can either look at the 7, 1, and then 7 as it being like solidifying that energy, or even adding them all up together and then simplifying it and then correlating it to, once again, the mathematics to see what it really means. So 7 plus 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15, together equals 6. You're at your equality, your highest equality of understanding is another way you can look at it. Just being aware, like I said, taking notes of the energy around when you do see these numbers is something that really helps. Someone said some knowledge I just want to share. Remember, everything is in stages, and to appreciate every stage in your life and learn something from each one. Remember, nothing stays the same. That also goes back to living in the present moment. Appreciate everything you got, because it can all go. Exactly. Gratitude is very important, honestly, because without gratitude, you're not going to be able to really enjoy what you've worked so hard for. So I definitely agree with that. But I'm gonna get into this PowerPoint that I put together to really talk about basically what she was talking about, just being present, but also like deeper into that, like how to use your presence in a way where you can now get certain things that you've been looking for. So like some people, we don't really realize it, but we're all very in tune with energy. So some people might feel some things and not realize that it's actually their intuition or their higher self connecting with them and giving them that message, oh, this is what's going to happen, or this is what it is. So unlocking your divine self, learning discernment. In order for you to unlock your divine self, you really have to learn discernment, because you have to know the difference between right and wrong. You also have to know how to trust your intuition. And you also have to know the difference between your ego, which is conditioned by society, and your true higher self. So discernment is the act or process of exhibiting keen insight and good judgment. Also, another definition for discernment is knowing the difference between societal norms and what is in alignment of the greater good of yourself and others. Discernment is not knowing the difference between right and wrong. It is knowing the difference between right and almost right. So I look at it like this. Yes, it's right to want to provide for yourself or for your family, but I would consider that as being almost right, because you're only thinking so small-minded, you're thinking so selfishly, instead of thinking, what can you provide for the world that can now give back to you? Because when you, like I said in other calls, when you create a space for you to be able to use your talents and give back to the world will naturally give back to you more than you can ever imagine. So in order for us to understand the difference between all these things, we must pay attention to the synchronicities. being in the now, also known as 360 degrees of awareness. In order for you to understand synchronicities, you really have to be aware of the energy that's around. So taking notes of what happened, if you can't really figure it out in that moment, just writing down the sequence of events and then revisiting it and meditating on that is the best thing to do, because you can take your time to really just break it down and try to understand the base lesson behind it. Synchronicity is when things / events happen in your life that appear to be in alignment. So synchronicities can be like you were thinking of something and then all of a sudden you've seen it. Also could be when you keep seeing something or hearing things and those are all in alignment with each other. So it's just really understanding, like if you keep seeing a pattern, understand there's an energy that is causing that pattern to happen, and it's a lesson behind every time you see that thing. You just have to really understand why is it showing you these things. Is it because you're thinking it, or is it because these are some things that you have to do, or is it because these are things you have to stop? It's all for you to discern. But meditation is the best thing to do when it comes to practicing discernment, so you can understand the difference between the lesson, your ego, and then your higher self's perspective on it. Synchronicities help when it comes to trusting your intuition because it allows yourself to be a magnet to the truth. Oh, because you allow yourself to be a magnet to the truth. Your intuition is what reads energy. When on the journey of trusting your intuition, always remain with the motivation of the greatest good of all. So when it comes to like learning how to trust your intuition, sometimes you can practice by like putting an intention out. So setting an intention for you to be a magnet for the truth is allowing yourself to be open to receiving things that are ultimately true, and also keeping in mind the greatest good of all. So it's not just your truth based off an ego that you're operating at that moment. It's the truth based off of the greater good of all. So that's just one way to practice trusting your intuition, just allowing it to show you the truth. For example, your intuition, you can ask it to show you to what next step that you need to take to become more peaceful, and trust and allow it to guide you divinely throughout your day. So it might be like, for example, you're presented with an opportunity to actually get into an argument with somebody because you asked for yourself to be tested to become more peaceful, for example, and that's something you've been challenged with. So now you're in that situation, and now you're being put at, are you going to choose your truth or what you've been conditioned to be? So just allowing yourself to be aware and be in the now to understand what lesson is being presented. And by being in the now, like said, helps you really be able to approach the situation better, because you're not just acting straight out of like your old thought pattern, like a straight reaction. No, you're taking your time, the sequence of events, to really take a step and be present and understand what's being presented to you, and then choosing the desired outcome that you really want in your life. And once you start that cycle, that's a whole new cycle of that kind of thought that you can now embody, because once you do it once, you can do it again. So intuition is the ability of having direct perception of truth, in fact, independent of any reasoning process. A keen and quick insight, and also a gut instinct. So like sometimes people might feel like their intuition through their stomach. That's something that's very common. I notice people always talk about butterflies. Now there's a difference between having butterflies with anxiety and then having butterflies of knowing something's going to happen. but you have to be aware and be in the present moment to understand where is this coming from. Because personally, for me, I've had a case where I've actually like felt and seen something, and it was like not in like what's perceived a good way, but I knew it wasn't my anxiety because I've been practicing discernment, so I could tell like, no, this is something that's really going to happen. It's not me just coming out of fear, just like assuming this is the case, because I had already like set those thought patterns down. Like I already had walked away from it, and I was kind of more deeper into like embracing that as my reality. But in the beginning, obviously, like it takes meditation to really reflect, to see what these things are telling you. And you can meditate throughout your entire day, honestly. It's just being in the present moment. Meditation is about focusing your thoughts and putting it to a desired outcome, or even trying to quiet your thoughts and allowing spirit or the most high to come through you and guide you to what you have to see. You can physically feel your intuition, and I already talked about this. Yeah, so just allowing yourself to really be open to, when it comes to like meditating and like reflecting on things that are being like that are coming up, like for example butterflies, knowing the difference between anxiety and also like if it's just reality, what's happening, is keeping and remaining in the mindset of the greater good of all, like making sure that you're not coming out of, and all includes yourself. It's not like just outside of you, like all includes you and everything outside. Remembering intuition is divinely guided by the heart. Remember, intuition is divinely guided by the heart. Having unconditional love for all and knowledge is how you begin to unlock ultra instinct, aka unity or full consciousness. So the other call I talked about basically just how the heart and the head are the crossroads of like your higher self. So basically you can have all this knowledge, but if you don't use your heart to also guide you how to apply this knowledge, you're never gonna be in that state of full unity consciousness and like divine love, basically, or a heaven mind state, because you're not allowing yourself to embrace the higher dimensions, because you are not allowing your heart to guide you, because your heart is your natural compass. It's the compass of the soul. So remembering the difference between our ego self and our higher self. The ego self is the false self. That's the me. The soul is the true self, the we. I'm not going to read all of this, but essentially this is all the things we've been talking about kind of like in the past couple of calls, but this is just like a more detailed representation of that, because at the end of the day, sometimes we need things to help us like understand what is really ego and what's really like your higher self, your true self. And also I'll recommend too, like if you're really trying to practice like understanding and like having those confirmations, sometimes it's good to put it out to the universe, but also like using divinations, like for example tarot cards, other forms of like readings, like those things can help you like also understand what's going on in your reality, because it basically is just picking up on the energy and like giving you a direct reflection of what you've asked, and it's right there in your face. But just remaining like I said, when you do read these things, like remaining open to the truth and the greatest good of all is the only thing that's going to help you, because if you allow your ego to come in while you're doing things like divination, it can actually like mess with what's really coming out. So ego is always self-serving, while your higher self is serving to others, and to in turn yourself, because you understand how connected you are to everything relative to yourself. And then this is just also another chart of your ego self and your higher self. But honestly, like back to the numbers, like this is another thing to help you remain in the present moment. Like numbers, synchronicities, and it doesn't even have to be like repeating numbers like 111, 222, 333, 444, because actually like numbers like 808, for example, that's an angel number too. 123, 1234, like these are all like angel numbers. Every number is actually a sign, every letter is actually a sign. If you understand what they mean, that will help you because it's all a code. Like I explained in the one of the other calls, we live in a matrix, like quite literally, and the matrix is not evil. The matrix is just what this reality is, like this plane of existence is. The Bible talks about it. Many other like religions talk about it. They just don't call it the matrix, but I know the Bible calls it the matrix. But basically, we're just in a reality of energy, and there's electrons, protons, and neutrons. So understanding that there's ones, zeros, and at its base level of existence, you have to understand that now you can actually use these codes of numbers to understand what's going on, because it's literally like a fractal, and a fractal of like existence that can help us understand like what everything is in its simplest form, because math isn't everything. You can literally use math for everything in existence to build, to understand, like it's the universal language. So understanding that, it's definitely great to educate yourself about like different codes with math, because like it can help you really understand what's going on. So like I recommend the 5% Nation mathematics. I always recommend that book. But like there's also so many other like divinations of mathematics. Like even the African diaspora has their own form of mathematics and how they use it. They use it for readings as well, but they use it in the term of like positive energy and negative energy. So it might just it could be referred to like the light or the dark, masculine and feminine. It's a different reading, but it's the same thing at the end of the day. Like how when it comes down to like the simplest form of how it's used, and it just helps you understand what's going on relative to your reality. So yeah, being in the now is definitely the move. And also we're in the new moon, so new moon in Aries. So understanding there is a big shift going on right now. There is a big veil being lifted actually, because more and more people are becoming conscious, and this is happening honestly all around the world. If you look at it, like there's just a bunch of people like getting fed up of what's happening to us, and like we're actually talking about it using social media as a way to connect the dots of what's happening to us as a people. So it's just understanding right now the energies that are around. It's just a lot of positive energy, and like some people might be like, oh, there's more like messed up things happening in this world right now, but you have to look at it like this. You have to destroy to build. So this old foundation is quite literally being destroyed. They call it Babylon, they call it the new world, whatever you want to call it. It's being destroyed because it's not sustainable. People are suffering out here because they don't understand their existence in this reality. And that's only because we haven't been taught who we really are. We've been removed from our true selves. So it's just really getting back to our true selves is something that is going to, free ourselves for real, because we'll understand really what's going on and who we are. And it's just a different type of peace. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say in terms of that. You guys, let me see if I can check for the questions. If you guys have any questions, definitely drop them in the chat. Oh, and I also want to talk about psychic like abilities as well, like all these things, just being connected to the energy. That's that unity consciousness right there, being tapped into like I'll call it clairvoyance instead, like being tapped into like that everything around you. Like everybody has that capability. It's just how deep are you going to choose to be present? So yeah.
OD, as far as how deep are you willing to be present? Because it's so funny. I did a YouTube video and y'all check out my page. I'm gonna drop it in the MVW Main Hub. Okay, but I literally did a YouTube video and I literally said I was like as far as empaths go or like people that are sensitive to energies, it's like the more self-aware you are, just the more you're able to feel the energies around you. So people be calling it like the clairs, like she said, clairvoyance, clairsentient, clear audience, where you hear things, you feel things, like you can just feel the energy. You can just feel the energy. And because it's not normalized, because a lot of people were asleep, now it's the clairs, and now it's you have all these psychic gifts, when in reality, it's just you can just feel because you can tap in because you're present and you know yourself.
Exactly. Honestly, and that's the thing, like I said, we've been so removed from ourselves, like who we really are. Like our ancestors knew this. They were in tune, like they respected everything relative to their reality, like where they were at. And like they ate meat, but not the way we eat meat. They was doing it sacredly, like giving thanks to the spirit, like sending like the spirit off with prayers for their tribe, but also for the spirit itself, and like and for that species of animal. Like they were just doing things more like sacred. And honestly, I feel like we've been like so removed from understanding how sacred and divine our lives are. And like it's really magical if you really like take a step back and look at it. Like it's so beautiful, but we've been placed in this like fake reality of like suffering and stuff like that. Like, and I'm not saying like there's a point where we wouldn't be suffering back then, because like we all had to have an evolution of the soul, but it's not in the aspect that we are now. Because it's like people now are literally getting stuck, like where they will like they really like it's interesting to see like older people who are supposed to be elders, but they haven't evolved consciously. It's like they're still 17. Like walking down the street, sometimes I can literally see like a person's age, like in just the way they carry themselves. Like, yeah, that person might look 60, but he's carrying himself like his 16-year-old self. He never changed.
Now that is
So
so
yeah.
funny because that is such a fact. Like I really like I know elders and like bro, they're six, bro. Like, but they're elders. That's crazy.
Exactly. It's like honestly, that's the thing. Like we have to understand, like our ancestors, they took being an elder so seriously. Like it was something like it's a rite of passage. So like it would be like for the case where the child now becomes the man, like the boy becomes the man. He's gonna go hunting, and his kill is gonna feed that whole tribe, like his kills. What his rite of passage was to feed the whole tribe. And then from there on, they take that, what they know, their knowledge, and they take it to pass, like that, passing on that knowledge as something so sacred. And like that's the only way evolution was going to happen, was because they chose to evolve, and now they're putting their children above them to learn from that knowledge, and then therefore they can learn even more from that and build more upon that. It's like putting their children on their shoulders to see even more than what they could see. So yeah, it's very interesting. But like we're walking away from that as a collective, I feel like, because people are just tired of just like seeing generational trauma like happen over and over again, honestly.
I know someone asked, I believe it was an accidental direct message, but someone asked, do you know anything about chill? I don't know if that has anything to do with what we're talking about right now. But as far as chills go, like I have experienced chills. Like I experienced chills. They say like if a spirit is walking through you, you choose to believe that if you want. But there's I notice, let's say if I'm in a public setting, if I feel someone's energy directed my way, I'll get a chill because I feel like that's like their energy kind of invading my energy. So like I'll just be like chilling. And all of a sudden I'm just like, whew, like that. Or is there anything else? Or if you're cold, that's like the physical aspect of it. But that's one way that I get chills. I don't know if you would like to answer that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Chills to me, like what you said with the spirit thing. Honestly, like spirit, I call it spirit, but like some people don't understand. So like I also call it consciousness because it's like that's an energy of like thought that's going through you. So like picking up on that energy sometimes gives you chills. I personally get chills too. Like when something, it depends really on what's going on though. Like sometimes I've had it where somebody looked at me, for an example, but I've also had it where like I felt like so like the energy was just like so like abrupt. It just made me like, wait, like I have to pay attention to this. So like I think chills is just something our body does like when you're cold too, or if it's like trying to like alert you like something like is happening, like especially if you have like hair on your body and you notice like when somebody comes close that your hairs rise, it's kind of like that. That's how I would compare it to experience. Exactly. It can be a confirmation. It can be like if you were thinking something and then all of a sudden like you just got chills because you were thinking it and then it was just like simultaneous and you knew that was a sign. Like that's when it comes down to discernment, like understanding like when your higher self, your spirit is like really talking, like is really like giving you a sign right now, like that you're on point or this is something you have to pay attention to.
I know one more thing as far as deciphering between your ego and your intuition, and this is something that I'm still working on myself. Um, they say like your ego is the voice that will be loud. Your ego in your head. Your ego is the voice that will be loud. Your ego is the voice that is like it may cause a little bit of fear or anxiety within you. Like let's say if you're doing something out of desperation, that's probably your ego kicking in. But your intuition will actually be very calm. And it might even be quieter than your ego. So it's like if you're really trying to discern what to do, but you have like two voices, like which one is the more anxious voice and which voice is the more calm voice? Because 9 times out of 10, the calm voice is your intuition.
Yeah, I personally actually experienced like those battles. Like sometimes I'd feel like my ego self was actually choking myself. Like literally like my throat chakra would just like be like a ball of energy. Like I couldn't even speak sometimes or just feel like I had to cry. And it's like that internal battle. Like it physically hurts for me personally. Like it used to just hurt all the time. Like when I would have those like battles of like I want to say something out of ego, but I knew like my higher self knew like don't say that or like don't do that. But that was definitely one thing. Also, another thing too, like when it comes down to like your spirit, sometimes you have that spirit too of like fire like that, like where you need to yell actually, like you need to release, you need to be louder. It's just like understanding when and like why that's happening too, because that could also be ego, just having that discernment. Because sometimes like for me, I've had an instance where like I read somebody, like I was just like talking to them in a conversation, but my spirit like it just kicked in and I was just like I was just reading them. I'm like, nah, you understand this and then this and then they were like, yeah, like I do. And then they were just basically saying like how things are messed up. And I'm like, yeah, but that's denying like the fact that you have the power to change anything that's going on. And like at this point, like they're a guide too. So like something within me was just like, nah, I need to like kind of like this person has been knowing, but like I felt like they were looking for the answer. And like I was the confirmation. So I actually kind of like I didn't yell at them, but I did like get more stern and more like like louder at like talking to them, like you know, like you gotta pull it together, like motivate, like move, do something. And like honestly, like for me, that's just like embodying that energy of like of fire or even the wind again. Like the wind carries that change energy. Like when you think of wind, understand like this, especially in the African like spirituality and indigenous spirituality, every time that wind comes through, the animals are listening, they're silent because they understand that something just happened and they have to pay attention to the shift of the energy. because that's what's happening. The wind is bringing that shift, that change of energy. So yeah, that's pretty much.
Absolutely. I don't know if anyone has any questions, but I like this convo today.
Yeah, it's a great convo. Honestly, this is just kind of like, I feel like we've been kind of talking about this stuff, but like, honestly, it's never like there's never like a time where you shouldn't be talking about this, because you always got to brush up on the information that you know. I feel like, because sometimes when you're like in the space where you're talking to people, because like you go to school and they're not on the same consciousness, you might lose yourself a little bit throughout that day. So like just having that like ability to come to a space to talk to people and remind yourself like, nah, this is reality, is great.
Right, people who
Yeah,
will
and the
be able
comment
to
could go on.
comment on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A personal experience. I mean, like, so you can go first if you want.
Did you give personal experiences on awakenings you've had? Okay, I've had many awakenings. I had an awakening legit like last week. After that, like when we was on a call for like 4 hours, after that call and I fasted, when I tell you I had a whole awakening, I was like, hold on. Like I literally went in hermit mode for like a week or maybe a couple days. But I guess this past like week, an awakening that I had was that my heart chakra was so blocked. It was very, very blocked. And it's funny because Nicolette also said, like allowing with the consciousness chart, it's like you can't really exceed past, at least at this point in time. I'm not gonna say my heart chakra has always been blocked, but just like around like this point in time. And you can't really elevate if your heart chakra is blocked. So like I did a whole like 360 as far as how I navigate relationships, just as far as like literally any relationship, whether it be platonic, romantic, business, the relationship with my cat, like just how I navigate things. So I guess awakenings for me are more like realizations that I come to. And then it's like after that realization, I really do the shadow work, I do the inner work, and then I step into this new state of being, because which is the new mindset. That's the perspective shift. But it's always enlightening for sure. It's like an energetic release. Like I feel lighter. Like even right now, I'm thinking of the first awakening that I consciously remember having, and that was my freshman year of college when I did a psychedelic for the first time, and it was like a whole life journey in 8 hours, and that awakening was like blew my mind because I was one of the first ones. Like I came out a completely different person. I was like, oh my gosh, I see why the hippies see the way they do. Like, oh my god. So like it's just a new, literally like a new way of being. So I guess that's like a personal experience that I've had. I guess kind of. I don't know if that's surface level, because like we could really get deep into it, but to talk about everything I learned, and my mind already goes fast. But so I guess that's a personal experience for me. So I'm gonna let Nicolette go now.
No, I definitely agree. Like feeling lighter. And also, yeah, it's just like a deeper awareness of like understanding. Like your consciousness is just like it's just elevating. So for me, honestly, like she said, like there's a lot, like I could keep going, but one of them I would say was actually kind of like a year ago, like a little less than like 10 months ago. But it was just like I was really like getting deep into history, just like educating myself on like what was really happening, like why are we in the state we are as a society, and then like what led us here. And it was like, yeah, I knew slavery happened, but that was just from the perspective I learned in school. I just kind of like never dug deeper into that. But I came across some like people that I met, and we were just talking about these things, and they started to like point me to like deeper like aspects of what really happened to our people, and then just like building upon that and just building upon that. I just honestly, like, I remember looking out the window one day and just like the world literally just like froze, like everything literally looked so still, and I'm just like, wow, like I felt like as a people we descended so much. But then I was like, I wasn't sad, but I was just like, I felt like motivated to just want to grow. Like that was just like my next like motivation, because I had been on this growth like path for many years, but like it was just like giving me like more like motivation to even turn up more, because I was just like, now like we really have to change this. Like we can't keep living like this as a people, honestly. Like that was when I really started to accept this unity consciousness, honestly, because it was like kind of like, not that like race mattered, but like kind of like I felt like white people didn't understand like us as a people, like what we went through and what we go through. And like I just felt like kind of that separatism. But then I started to like open myself up, like of after accepting like this unity consciousness. And then I actually ended up meeting like a white person that was just like really, really, really like just loving and like high vibrational, like fully conscious. Like when I tell you, like giving confirmations that I didn't even know how he would know these things. Like, and it was just like allowing me, it was really an ego death, because it was like I thought like it was just only our people type of thing, but it was just like, no, like we all can kind of like come together and just work together. Like it doesn't matter about race. If they get it, if they're at that level of consciousness, like I'm rocking with you because you get it. Like you're not operating strictly off of ego. So yeah, that was one of my deeper awakenings that I had. It says, just go with the flow of your life in your passenger seat. Just live and spread love and evolve. Yeah, exactly. That was the download I was getting basically around that time. It was just like, just really spreading love and evolving, like push, like being that example, especially for like my generation, just being an example. Because I know I'm not going to be the only example, but just being an example for us to just see like it's possible that we can live a better life and we can evolve and we can just prosper. Like that was just like the thing that I seen, and just like showing that we can love each other, honestly. Like it doesn't have to be like, what can I get out of this friendship, what can I get out of this relationship, because I feel like that's what a lot of us like were operating on. And I feel like like especially in high school, like it was just like you would notice how certain people, or because I didn't go to college, so I peeped this in high school, but I just noticed how like people would just like gravitate towards each other and what was making them gravitate towards each other. And it was only when I started to pull back, I started to realize, I'm like, a lot of the things that are like keeping us from like actually having like more peace and more like togetherness as like a, like over, like it doesn't matter what you look like, just as a group, was just like the ego of just like feeling that one is better than the other, like, or what can I get out of this? Like, oh, you might have like a nice house or you might have a pool, so I'm gonna be friends with you so I can go over there and get those benefits. Like I just started peeping a lot of things, and that was when I also had like another awakening of just like how we as a people are like operating. Because then I started to look at like older generations, and I noticed like they were doing the same thing. Like it didn't matter how old you were, like there was just people out here that really operate like on what can I get from this, how can I gain from this, instead of thinking what can I offer. And honestly, I feel like that's just because we've been taught like how to love in a way where it's like, what can I gain from this, not what can I add to this. Because at the end of the day, like when it comes to love, when you're sharing love, it's not like to gain anything from that, like from the other person. It's about like having your own peace, your own self-love for yourself, and having that person add to your happiness. And I just feel like a lot of people weren't adding to each other's happiness. It would be like, oh, they're hanging out with each other, but they're like roasting each other. I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this. Like, why are y'all violating each other right now? Like, there's no need for y'all to be calling each other's out insecurities, because y'all know that's your insecurities with each other. Like, there's just no need for that. And it was just like interesting to see like how people would like have rap battles, for example, and like really demolish that person's character. Like, oh, like especially like if it had to do something with like what they're wearing, it was just messed up. So I definitely like peeped that, and that was another awakening.
No, that is such a fact. And it's funny because she was talking to, and I didn't put it out yet. It's coming out soon, so stay tuned. But that even goes like to the illusion of separation. It's like someone also said they want us divided because they don't want us together because we're stronger together. And that is such a fact. But also too, that illusion of separation really kicks in. And it really has you thinking that like, well, I need this, but you don't need that because of or like I need this ego wars, kind of just like ego wars. And that also disconnects us from the earth as well, which disconnects you from your intuition as well. But yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, ego wars is definitely like something. But in terms of somebody talking about the Kundalini.
Oh wait, can I answer one more thing real quick?
Yeah.
Someone said well, okay, I definitely mentioned this. I said I feel like they want us divided because of how strong we would be if we came together. But I definitely mentioned that already. There was something else I wanted to say, I feel like, but it'll come back to me. But we can move on into the Kundalini awakening.
That's definitely a war tactic too, like on a bigger level, like keeping them divided is a war tactic that they've been practicing forever, honestly. And I think that's in 48 Laws of Power. I think that's the book. But in terms of, has anyone felt like they had a Kundalini awakening? Yeah, honestly, like that's what this whole like levels of consciousness chart is talking about. It's coming from your root chakra, because these consciousness levels are also like in correspondence to the chakras. So like when it comes from like coming from these lower aspects, like this is what we usually are born into, like these egos right here, the third dimension, which is also known as like a hell or purgatory state of consciousness. Like when you start to like get into these higher realms of just like understanding, or whether it comes down to like neutrality, acceptance, inner wisdom, that inner love, self-love, and etc., like that's your Kundalini awakening. And you can tell when your chakras are in alignment, because you see how your reality is like being manifested, because it's just a reflection of where you're at energetically.
Oh my goodness, someone said realize people's personalities really copy and paste. And that's also another thing too. That's why it's really really good to like get to know your history. Because Jaden Smith said it in a song as well. He literally said, he was like, this nightmare been on repeat, but y'all never learn history, goddamn. And I was like, yo, that is such a fact. And Nicola even mentioned, I don't like to say slavery. I be like the period of enslavement. But literally it's like we are definitely still like removing ourselves from slavery, you know? Like I feel like in school they definitely taught you that like, oh my gosh, it was so long ago, but you still have people, you have elders actively still living on this in this world right now, and they can tell you back to the time where they were picking cotton, whatever, right? And it's so crazy because I even remember one like time I was living somewhere. This is around the time when I was in college. College for me, I like did a lot of self-discovery in college because I was away from my family for the first time, right? And there was one time where I was like living in the hood. Like I could say I could live in, I didn't grow up in the hood, but like in college, I was living there. But it was just like you could literally see in front of you, like the system that is just so like how they really actively still push the system, like the old system, and it still affects people till this day. And that is so crazy to me because it was literally like you went back in time, like you were still in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Like I have mad stories that I'm just not gonna get into. But it's like how like as far as the slavery mindset, how that like that victim mentality also the programming, and it is still definitely targeted on us as far as like the Black and brown communities, because it was so crazy because even like red lined areas, or it's either called red line areas or red zone areas, when I tell you I literally lived on the block where it started, right? So it was like this area wasn't a red line area, but because of how they did the district maps, this side was a red line area, and the difference was crazy. Like rent over here was 300, but on the next block over, rent was 600, and it was like that block literally, and it was like so crazy how by design it actually is. It was like this block over here, it was like all fine. But then literally the next block over, that's where it starts to get unsafe. And it's like the next, and it's just so crazy because you could literally see the split difference. And it was just like the same 2 blocks, like not the same, I guess like it was the same street, a different block. But it was just still crazy how like you still have systems like put in place, and there are people really still like affected by this. However, we are definitely still waking up, but it's just really crazy to see because it's like as far as the work and like the healing that our community like still needs, but the younger generations I feel is hopping up on this, like us, like hopping up on this like real quick. But to even see some of the adults still in like the old way of just being mentally and consciously, it is just so crazy. So it's like as far as learning your history, getting to know if you have like grandparents that like are still alive with you, you know, like definitely asking them questions, learning from their mistakes. What did you see growing up? Because history can really save you. Because it's like again, kind of like what the person said in the chat. It's like different. We also are our ancestors as well. Like we are. So it's like the more that we heal, we literally are healing our ancestral lineage, you're healing your bloodline, you're healing yourself and the future generation to come. And literally, I remember saying this to Nicolette, I believe last week over the phone. Like women, we hold okay. So what I have learned is women hold a generation of eggs inside of them because we're born with our eggs. And then when we get pregnant whenever we're ready to, okay, whenever we're ready to, okay, this is not known, you know. But then since a woman is born with her eggs, like I believe like for men it's like y'all don't get y'all like I guess sperm, I guess not, I guess it is until you guys hit puberty, but women, we're born with it, right? So it's like the more healing that you do, and then when you get pregnant you're also healing your eggs, and then when you're pregnant and you're still healing, now you're healing your baby's eggs. So it's like that's 2 generations of women inside, but it's like so that means you yourself were also either it was in your grandmother's belly if you're a woman too, especially like you were in your grandmother's womb. So it's like all the things that like she didn't heal, it's gonna come into you. So now you heal it, but you also learn it through your history so that history doesn't repeat itself.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Also, another thing
yeah.
too, like you were saying, like in terms of like you see the difference and like how things are still being put upon our people. Like honestly, we're still all enslaved. If you really want to break it down, like we're a slave to the dollar, we're a slave to the money, and the money's not even real. It's not backed by anything physical, not silver or gold. So yeah, we actually are slaves to this day. They just changed the way they worded it, and the reason why we had like that whole fight, like when it came down to like bringing together the South and the North, like the reason why like white people didn't want to like join with us was because they knew that they were going to be slaves. Like the Confederates knew they were going to be the slaves too, and they didn't want that. So it's just like a lot of things haven't been revealed to us because like we've only been shown the basics in school. But if you keep reading, if you keep educating yourself, you'll really see like, nah, like they're still, yeah, they really still are doing stuff to us like every day on a day-to-day basis. And like putting things in our food, putting things in the air, like actively. And they tell us this, but we don't do anything about it. Like we have like people that like talk about it, but I feel like the only way we can really like change these things is if we change ourselves. Like we can't really like understand what steps need to be taken as a community if we don't elevate consciously. And I feel like this is kind of the reason why like our like our ancestors didn't really get so far in these movements was because like we were still like trying to find ourselves. And I feel like our ancestors really paved the way because like it was in the 70s where you seen like a big like boom of like indigo children coming out and like expressing their truth, like the hippies. Like they were all like expressing like that peace, love, unity, consciousness. And that was really like a big boom that we seen with our ancestors. But like moving on from that, we kind of like we were just building upon that, and more people, like the more of those types of people had kids, like the more of their children could pass on and like have those same idealisms too. So we're just like continuously healing right now. But yeah, like learning about what happened to us, like this is kind of what happened like when I had my like awakening like a year ago, was just understanding like, nah, like we really are all slaves still. So yeah, that was kind of what hit.
Nah, yeah. And it's funny too, while you was talking, and it's funny because I actually learned this in college. One thing I will say for me personally, I guess about college, I also did my most like self-developing healing stuff in college. My Africana Studies courses, because I was an Africana Studies minor, and my Africana Studies courses, mainly like my senior year, there was this one teacher and she taught like so much. Like we actually, it is funny because society, because of like the way we were brought up, and especially if you went to public school, because private school, they could kind of like gear the education a certain way, so they don't have to follow like public school rules. But I like, she taught me so many things and I was like, wow. And it's, I don't know if y'all ever heard this, but it was like the myth in the medical field that like Black people don't feel pain. Black, I put in quotations, I don't want to offend nobody. But so I guess melanated, I'm gonna say melanated peoples, there was a myth going on that we don't feel pain as much, but in reality, what it was is that they never used anesthetics or anesthesia on the enslaved peoples. So the enslaved people themselves had to come up with remedies to anesthesize. Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word. Or numb themselves, I guess, numb themselves. So they would literally use herbs from the earth to create numbing agents and put it on themselves so that when they were literally slicing through their skin without no like amnesia, without no, what's the word? I don't know. Y'all know what I'm trying to say though, without no, whatever they use to knock you out, like in the is that anesthesia? Is that what that is?
Anesthesia, yeah.
Anesthesia. Okay, bad. Thank you. They literally used herbal paste. So like that, there was a myth. I don't know if it's still going on for real, but that we don't feel pain as much. But in reality, no, we just had to use our own like methods because they wasn't like up on game. So like whole time they trying to teach us that we wasn't up on game, but we had to create our own things because they really wasn't up on game and they for sure wasn't going to listen to us. You know what I'm saying? But it's funny because it's like even through all of that, we still like actually know so much. We just have to again tap into that ancestral DNA, that junk DNA. Don't call it that though, because it's not junk. Okay, y'all. That You're literally getting to know your history and like things of that nature, because it's like, yeah, it's very healing. It's very, very healing. It's also empowering once you find out more about it as well. And that is what causes like the change, whatever.
Yeah, honestly, with the medical history too, like it's crazy when you look back because it's like they were quite literally experimenting on us like animals as well. Like they did that, animals and us, like without anesthesia, like for fun. Like it was okay. But yeah, that's their history, honestly. Like we have to look at what our ancestors were doing because like some of our ancestors now they don't even realize it, but they like practice things still sometimes. Like it's just interesting to see but like herbal medicine, like we use that before the medical system was even invented. Like they created these petroleum based medicines for money. Like this was all like a whole Ponzi scheme of how much money could they make. So like understanding why these things are banned and now like FDA regulates like herbs and stuff like that and like what's good for us and what's not. But like I don't even trust the FDA because I understand like what like how they operate. Like I understand what their motive is at the end of the day. So yeah.
No, yeah, that's such a fact. Because a lot of things that's FDA approved, that don't mean you should be ingesting it for real. Like
Yeah, and
that's
even
so
like
funny.
there's I forgot what the what's that it's big it's clucking that chicken um documentary. There's this chicken documentary. I'll put it in the chat. But basically like it was revealing like the process of like being a farmer and being like a producer in the chicken industry. And basically like it was showing how like farmers like all they have to do is fill out this waiver for like the FDA, but the FDA doesn't really have to go out there and like check to see if like this is like legit. Like all they have to do is like for free range, they just have to put like enough space, like a little fence. Oh, it's called Super Size Me Too. Super Size Me Too. Um, but basically like they just put like a little gate outside of the house of where the chickens were at. Like it was probably like 3 feet and that was considered like free range, so they could check that off in the thing and then like also put like organic and all this stuff when it wasn't really like checked or even like when you look at it like not the description of what organic should really be or like free range should really be, you know.
Literally, you know what's so funny too? My sister the other day, she literally told me, she was like, if you get eggs, make sure it says free range, because if it says cage free, all it means is they weren't in a cage. Like that's all it means. So it's like it's the free range is where they actually, get to go out and graze, whatever. But it's like even things like that, the trick words that they try to like put in, it's so unnecessary, but like it's just so much work to literally put into keeping a community just uninformed. Like they do so much.
Yeah, honestly, like it's the matrix, it's energy harvesting at the end of the day. Like if you look at it, it's a giant like system, like a computer, and it's just eating off of our energy. And if you actually look at like the largest shareholder in like the world, like it's like a couple of them, but like they're all under one umbrella company called BlackRock. And they themselves like it's a group of people, but it's also AI ran. So then it's like not like the matrix is really like controlling us if you think about it, like in the sense of where it's like AI controlling us. Like that's what it was showing us for real. But like it's like real life if you think about it. Because if you understand like the biggest shareholder is putting the money in these companies and it has influence on what these companies do, like in terms of what they push out, like everything is connected. You just got to follow the money, and it's just interesting to see.
Nah, that's a big
Exactly.
fact. No, go ahead. Finish
I
your
was gonna say
answer.
exactly. The FDA approved the vaccine, the fast food, meat, candy, cereal. That's what somebody, Derek said, and that's facts. They're approving all this crazy stuff that is not good for us. Which so you gonna trust them when they approve something good for us? That don't make sense.
Nah, yeah. I was gonna say something, I forgot. It's okay.
But yeah, like the Matrix, the newest Matrix, watch that. I definitely recommend because it's kind of like if you haven't seen the old one, at least I should say. What do you think the elite's diet consists of? Wait, like the elites? What you mean?
That's so funny.
I definitely think it consists of things that I don't want to talk on here about.
No, right? Oh my goodness. Why did I literally see a video of this girl just outing the whole industry? I was like, I had to get off because it was
You
a
bold.
lot.
I don't even want to watch stuff like that because I be like, damn, they're gonna know I'm watching all this stuff. They go peep the
Nah.
pattern. Like that's how I be feeling sometimes. Sometimes I don't even like stuff. I just like I agree. I might save it, but like I don't like it because I'm like I don't want them to know my pattern.
Mm. Nah, yeah, I'm not even gonna say anything because I can say a lot too. Because these dreams be going crazy, y'all. They be out.
Oh, yo, that's another thing too. Dreams, like definitely tapping into your dreams, writing them down. Write them down because they're a message. Like especially when it comes to like being here, like when you wake up, understand like you're actually like traveling into another dimension. Your consciousness never like turns off. It never like doesn't do anything. It's just going into a different dimension of existence, like yeah, like understanding of what's going on. So like when you wake up, definitely write your dreams down. Try to like interpret them, what they mean. Oh, Monsters Inc. is a crazy deep a movie, yeah.
No, yeah, you know, it's so crazy too. First of all, dream interpretations. If y'all want y'all dreams interpreted by me, hit me up. Period. Poo. You know what to do. Okay. Even Monsters Inc. Literally, and this is literally gonna come out in my Is it gonna come out in YouTube? I gotta think. I forgot. But it's funny because Monsters Inc. literally shows us how individual. If anyone here ain't watch Monsters Inc., I'm about to spoil it for fake. So spoiler alert, okay? For real. I said for fake. I'm about to spoil it for real. But literally in the beginning of the movie, they have the children's screams fueling up the battery, and it was like it barely fueled the battery. But then as soon as the children's laugh came in, it like fueled the battery so fast. And I believe it was able to fuel multiple batteries at a time. I don't think I'm remembering that wrong. But it's like how laughter, I was on live. That's what I was doing. I was on live and this message came out as well. Like I feel like laughter is a good transmutative energy also because you see how in the movie Monsters Inc., like the children's laugh, like Boo's laugh literally powered all the doors at once. Then they started using the laughs to fuel the batteries. That's a very high vibrational energy. Like even a baby.
Oh, yeah, I think her phone might have died or something would have died. But like to tie that in, I think it was Screams that she was talking about. I don't know if it was Laughs or Screams. I thought it was Screams, but I thought that was tying into like how they feed off of our fear. No. In terms of like the Monsters Inc. thing that she was talking about. But like, oh yeah, it does change to laughter. But honestly, I think that's like that's talking about us transmutating like that negative energy of fear into like that peace, like that fuels us more. Oh, she's back.
My fault, y'all. But yeah, that I see y'all got the message though. I see y'all chatting. But yeah, that's my message though, as far as the children's laugh, like laughter being a very transmutative energy. And when you laugh, you also tap into your heart space. I hope y'all understood that. You also tap into your heart space. But yeah, it's very transmutative, very.
Yeah, and you know that's the case because you know right here the fifth dimension is that love, that oneness, and that joy. Like joy is that higher consciousness of like understanding Like it creates that serenity, like in life, feeling completed.
Mhm. But yeah, I don't know if anyone like has any more questions or anything to add, I should say. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you too for definitely hopping on. If you guys appreciate them as well, just spam up the 7 so that they can get the appreciation in the chat from you guys too. I definitely have a notebook full of notes. You feel what I'm saying? So that means that y'all definitely gave some value. Y'all definitely added to my cup. So I appreciate y'all for doing so. And I know you guys definitely did the same for multiple individuals on the call as well. With that being said, make sure you guys definitely connect with Lex and Nicolette. You guys could probably, I'll pull everything up actually here. I'll be pulling it up, but it'd be taking mad time, but it's all good. It's all good. Let's give y'all a
We
shout out.
appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
I
dear.
know. Hold on. But if y'all don't already connect with Nicolette and Lex, definitely make sure y'all do so. I'm gonna pull up their social medias as well here. And then y'all can of course drop like any type of let's say YouTube, stuff like that that y'all have that y'all want to share as well. Y'all can do so. Um, but definitely go ahead and follow Nicolette here. This is her Instagram, so make sure you guys definitely at her if you learn something new, at Lex, at MBW if y'all learn something new, sharing your story, because the more people that you can get involved, the more individuals that you're actually getting into the right conversations. How many times do you invite somebody somewhere where the conversation is not growing your mindset? But this is one of the one places where you can invite your friend, invite your relative, and if they actually pay attention, and like we talked about today, if they're actually present, their mind will start to slowly expand. And what happens with the mind is when your mind starts to expand, it doesn't contract. So once your mind expands and you see more with life, you can't unsee it, if that makes sense. So you can't go back to your old state of living. And that's why we say knowledge is the foundation towards righteousness, because the more you know, the more your mind expands, the more you can actually go ahead and attract into yourself, attract into your life. It's like that first time. I don't know if anybody's ever done it, but it's like that first time you go to, you hang out with a millionaire, you drive his Rolls Royce, or you sit in the back of a Lamborghini. You feel me? Like once you do certain things like that, your mind expands. So now the goals that you have for yourself become a lot more attainable because they've been in your reality already. So you'll no longer go back to the old way of living. And it's the same way when you're gaining knowledge and information. So each one teach one. Make sure you guys definitely connect, the chat with anybody. Make sure you definitely connect your social medias with anybody that you know could benefit off these calls. And this is Lex Instagram as well. So make sure you guys definitely show some love at them if you guys got some sauce at Militant Breadwinners. And with that being said, I'm gonna see you guys from the top or at the top. The only time we ever look down is to help bring y'all up. Make sure y'all take care of yourselves. The more y'all take care of yourselves, you're taking care of me, because we are one. And if you guys are looking for us, you can find us at the beach or you can find us at the bank.